This is why I should be king, part two. Part two. Um, so I just want to bring you guys back to the time before the French Revolution, right before the French Revolution, when they still had a monarch, right? And I want to bring you back to what maybe that would be like, right? So, you know, in this day and age, um, uh, we're uncultured swine. I know I sound like, but I feel like in this day and age, like back in the time, of monarchs in the Renaissance, in the late Renaissance period, right? Like King George in England or King Louis in France. It's like the world was a more cultured place. Like it was acceptable, like being a gentleman was like cool or something. Like where I feel like now it's like you're a loser if you're a gentleman. No, you should be I don't know. You should be a bum. You should be a, I don't know, like it's not cool to be a gentleman. Like in this like day and age, in the same way it was cool to be a gentleman in the late Renaissance. Like it's like I don't know, like it's like we have this like culture that I don't know. Our culture's really falling off the rails. And a lot of people are gonna say, I'm gonna argue from this point of view. I think that a kingdom is natural, and I think that an empire is actually natural. I think that democracy is an unnatural system actually can only exist in a bubble. I think the true social state of the universe is of an empire. Like I think that like a the whole universe is a god empire ran by God, right? Like I think like a god empire or an empire is the natural state of affairs, like in society. Like kingdoms are natural. Democracy is not natural. Democracy can only exist in a small bubble, and that bubble's closing. So I think that we got to try something else. I think a kingdom is the most natural, normal thing to try. And I know like a kingdom's a very strange concept to people in the West, but people have lived in kingdoms, the majority of human history, right? Like I'd say the very solid majority of human histories, people have lived in a kingdom or an empire, right? You had the Roman Republic, which I think was very successful. But basically every other major conquering body in history was run by a king, right? The Egyptians were run by pharaohs, you know, Sumer, Assyrians, the ancient Greeks, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan. Most worldly conquerors are kings. They're not, they don't come from a republic. Like Rome is not a good example in that sense. And Rome ended in an empire, right? Rome was an empire for at least longer than it was a kingdom. No, much longer than it was a republic. If you really count if you count the Eastern Roman Empire, Rome was an empire for much longer than it was a republic. So I think that a kingdom is really the natural affair, is the natural order of how society is supposed to work. Yeah, I'm bouncing around here, so I apologize. But I feel like we have I don't know. I think that society would just run much smoother if we had a king. I think that I think people talk about a king and they start to get nervous, right? We don't want to give one person that much power, blah blah blah, and that's fair. That's a totally valid opinion. That's a totally valid, line of thinking, I think. But how much power a king has or doesn't have is highly variable, right? It's like a king could have no power, right? Like the King of England has in reality, almost no power. He has an opinion that people may or may not listen to. He doesn't actually have any real power, the King of England, right? He has no real, true, formal political authority. And this is true of every monarch in Europe, right? And this is also true of the Emperor of Japan. This is true of most monarchs today. It's not, if you go to like the Middle East and you go to some of these other places, maybe like Southeast Asia, you find monarchs with a lot more power, right? But in the Western world, monarchs have like next to no power in this day and age, right? So I think that maybe it makes sense to be, against a certain level of power you want a king to have or not. I think to be against a king on the grounds that it's bad, like politically, because you don't want to give one person that much power, doesn't really make sense to me, because the King of England doesn't have much power. Like, the King of England has very, very little power in all reality. And I say that unfortunately. This is nothing against, well, maybe they don't deserve that much power. I don't know. But I think yeah, I mean, I think that this system would run better if we had a kingdom. And I think there's different types of kingdom. There's different types of empires, different types of kingdoms. You know what I mean? You could have a constitution. Like, when I don't want to get rid of a constitution, so I want to, I still, like, I want a constitutional system, right? I just want to make that clear, is that I don't, you say, when people talk about, like, monarch, they think that, a monarch is, not compatible with a constitutional system or a legal system. That's not true. If you go to almost any country with a monarchy, even you go to Saudi Arabia, where they're said to be absolute monarchs in Saudi Arabia, there's still a court system. Like, there's still like a Supreme Court equivalent in Saudi Arabia that the king has to keep up with. He can't just automatically, easily override it whenever he wants, as much as he wants. It's more complicated than that, right? So just because a monarch is like an absolute monarch doesn't mean they truly have absolute power. That's more of like that's more of something that people say, and people say in theory, than is actually like how it is in practice. In the same way that, communist systems or socialist systems are oppressive. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot. Oftentimes that's true. That's not always true. And it's the same way with absolute monarchs, where, well, actually, that was a really bad example. That was a horrible example. I don't know why I gave that example. Let me give a better example here. So I think like absolute monarchs, like, it's like you say the word absolute monarch, and now that means that a monarch has absolute authority over everything in the country, right? Well, on paper, yeah, but in reality, that's not true. In the same way that, what's an example here that I could say? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of a good example at the moment. I'm just kind of freeballing here, so forgive me. But yeah, like, absolute monarchs don't actually have absolute authority. They maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's not quite that simple, right? It's not quite as simple as an absolute monarch has absolute authority and everything. Most absolute monarchs don't actually have absolute authority. So just gonna throw that out there. So I think a kingdom is a sign of culture, right? You want to see the government talk more about arts and science and religion and philosophy. You don't want it to always be about politics, right? Like, you want a king who can do things besides just politics, right? So, like, you want a king who promotes sophisticated culture, right? Because it's like, right now we have a society that does the opposite. We have a society where you go on the radio and you don't hear anything except about drugs and sex and selling drugs. And I'm being too negative, but it's like, we have such an uncultured society. Like, why can't we have like a king who's like dressed in, nice fancy clothes and is sophisticated or something. Like, why do we have to have like a culture where, like, you know you turn on the radio, you turn on the news, everything's like unsophisticated, everything's about sex, and everything's about, like, I don't know, like, we have like a culture that's like, I don't know, we have a culture that completely lacks sophistication. And I feel like a king is a sign and like a symbol of sophistication. And I would really like to have a more sophisticated culture, right? Because like it's like we live in, like, I don't know, like, it's like the average level of sophistication now is like lower than at like any point in human history. Like, I know that sounds like, but it's like people, there's no, like, I don't know, like, everything's like, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I think that we should have like a more sophisticated society, and I think a kingdom is a really good way, to promote a more sophisticated society. I also think that, I think that monarchs don't have absolute power in the way that people think they do. I think that it's, I think they have power like more like a president, but a president that stays there for life. That's really like all it is. I know, it's not more complicated than that. I think a king is a president who's president for life, and maybe a little bit, and they do things besides politics sometimes too. That's what a king is, right? They do other things too. Maybe they'll art and science, and they do other things too, right? But so I think that. And I think, like, it's like we can't get anything done. Like, society is just such a disaster. The banks. I talked about before. I was talking about all these other companies, right? Banks are another great example. I got a call like an hour or two ago, a few hours ago, about how, because I haven't deposited any money, I haven't used my bank account over a year, they're not just going to cancel my bank account. They're actually going to start charging me $50 every month for an inactivity fee. So if I don't use my bank, I can't just have a bank and not use it, apparently. If I don't use my bank account, and they were nice to call me. I'm sure that they don't actually have to call me by law, and they'd start just doing it. So if you have a bank account, you don't use it for a year, the bank can just start charging you $50 every month for inactivity without telling you, by the way, and you're liable. You have to pay that money. Well, that's what they're trying to do. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know banking, every little specific detail of everything every bank does, okay? I do know that they operate under corrupt conditions on a continual basis. So this wouldn't surprise me. And now here's a great example. So why is it when you get a credit card, it auto sets it, like the automatic setting on your app, right? On your bank, is that if you is that you have to manually pay whatever you purchase on the card at the end of the month. No big deal, right? And it's fine. It's not a big deal. But you know why it is a big deal? It's a big deal because it shows, at least to me, that they're trying to run a scam. They're hoping you forget, because they want you to have money in your account to pay off your credit card and forget to pay it. Perfect situation for them. Oh, that's what they want. That's what they're loving. They want you to have the money in your account but forget to pay it off. That's exactly what they want, because then they can charge you for it and they know you have the money to pay it. This is how banks work. They do the same thing with loans. Like, if you go to the bank to get a mortgage or a loan, well, mortgage is a type of loan, but if you get a loan or something, they stopped doing this, by the way, because they realized they got in too much trouble for this. Well, they got themselves in trouble for this, not like legal trouble, but they got in financial trouble for abusing this too much. What they do is they try to pressure people. Oh no, get the bigger house. You can afford the loan, blah, 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 blah. And maybe some of this is maybe conscious, some of this is maybe unconscious. I don't know. I'm sure the higher ups of the banks don't try to make this go well for people. but it's like they want, like banks try to abuse the system. They try to make people, they try to get people in debt. The bank wants you to be in debt. The bank wants you to not to default. That's what's best for the bank. The bank loves when people default. Well, generally. So I don't know. But that's just how everything. It's like everything's a disaster, nightmare. You know what else? Sports, professional sports. Professional sports is rigged. Like professional sports is rigged so much more than people realize, and there's massive like betting schemes on it and stuff. Professional sports is a joke because it's not. It's all staged. It's not real. People think I'm lying. People think this is a conspiracy theory. No, I'm telling you, professional sports is not real. It's not real. Maybe some sports, like I don't know every single, but like generally speaking, like the team who's going to win was decided before the game started. Widely across the board in professional sports. And it's starting to affect college level sports too. That's how bad. See, like everything's just a joke. You can't do anything without it being a joke. You can't go play sports in college without it being a joke. Everything's a fucking joke. Like everything's just a sleazy, manipulative fucking little game to someone. Every fucking thing you do. You open a bank account. You have to deal with some sleazy fucking asshole trying to rip you off. You watch a fucking sports game. You have to deal with it not being a real fucking sport. If you want to go play college fucking sport, well now you have to deal with fucking the nonsense of fucking that. If you want to smoke weed. Now a plant that grows that you grow a fucking 6 foot tall fucking plant of in your backyard in a short amount of time that can grow pounds and pounds of fucking weed. Oh well, that we can't. That's $17 million fucking dollars a gram actually. Yeah, that's this plant that would grow in 6 months and grow pounds of fucking weed. Yeah, that's $20, $10 a gram. Okay, I know maybe but it's like, why is fucking weed, like everything just fucking is garbage. Like everything's so fucking expensive for no reason. And I get like some things, like weed's a particular example. I get, okay, weed's like a drug and this is all fair. But like, okay, but why is it like, here. Why don't we use cannabis over, or like THC or CBD over most pharmaceutical drugs? Like why isn't THC or CBD like a first line option for like depression or anxiety? Like we get people like these like we get like Xanax is a, why how on earth does it make sense? And I can understand, maybe not wanting to prescribe cannabis right away for reasons other than strict health reasons. We're gonna prescribe Xanax over cannabis for anxiety. It's just mad. Like it doesn't even make sense. Like, and I don't know. Like I'm not yeah. And like I don't know. But like nothing, why is everything so expensive? Like everything is so, like how is weed so expensive? Like even medically. Like not even like as like a recreational, like as a medical drug. Why is it so expensive? Like that's just one example. Like it's like everything is so expensive. I don't know. Why is society just a joke? Like everything you do is everything, people try, like it's like you can't exist in a society and it not be a joke. Like you can't, like it's like you can't do any career. It's like any career path I go and try to do, it's a joke. It's like I can't move up. Like I can't get promotions. It's like you'll be working at the same dead end retail job for years. You'll have a college degree and you won't move up because they don't like you. Because I don't know. Because you look strange or something. I don't know. Because they don't fucking, like I have long hair. I don't fucking know. Like but it's also just that there's so many people working in the white collar workforce is so bloated, like lately, and just over the past few decades, that it's like companies just don't want to hire anyone else, which I kind of understand from a pure economic point of view, right? But at the same time, it's like companies are making record profits, and like I can't get I can't make a living, like I can't move out of the house, well I can't make enough money to like move out like on my own, and it's, I don't know. I guess I could if I really want, but it's like I don't know. I don't want to like work constantly to own nothing and just keep working constantly to just, I don't know. I'm gonna keep working on this. So, but it's like, I don't know. Everything's just kind of a joke. Like everything just feels like a joke. Like everything's like construction companies don't make roads as well as they can so that they can be rehired to rebuild the road in a shorter amount of time so they can make more money. That's real. That's real. I don't know. I'm just tired of all this nonsense. Like, I'm just tired. It's like I swear we live in like a dystopian like nightmare. Like you turn on the radio and it's like sex, 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 drugs, 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 kill people, kill people, kill people, sex, sex, sex. Like it's like I can't hear anything about anything on the fucking radio. That like every song like mentions sex in a way that's like maybe a little too obvious. You know something? So apparently, I'm pretty sure this is true too, but as of now, I don't know for sure, but it seems like record companies in Hollywood, like major record labels, right? And in other places, but in LA it's the big thing. They have like contracts with prisons so that like their record label produces a certain amount of music that's about like violence and drugs and like illegal things, and the prison then benefits from that because people more people go to prison. Prisons are wildly corrupt places. That's another thing that needs to be cracked down, is that prisons are wildly corrupt places that need to be cracked down on really hard. I'm tired of prisons. If there's one, I'm tired of prisons. That's what I'll say. I'm really tired of prisons. So, yeah, that's about it for now. I'm going to probably do more of a rant here in a little bit again.